Is Boston making a colossal mistake by overvaluing Derek White? Or is the league finally waking up to a truth the Celtics have known for years? What if I told you that one of the NBA's most respected front offices laughed at a lottery pick for a player who, to most casual fans, barely cracks the top headlines? That's exactly what happened when the Toronto Raptors reportedly offered the No. 9 pick in the 2025 NBA draft in exchange for Celtics guard Derek White. And Boston's reaction wasn't just a polite decline, according to insider Zach Lowe. The Celtics outright scoffed at the proposal. Think about that for a second. A team drowning in payroll complications. A franchise that just shipped out Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porziņģis to maneuver around the new CBA's cap strangulation. And yet, when presented with a top 10 draft pick, something many franchises would jump at during a financial squeeze, Brad Stevens and company responded with derisive laughter. Boston laughed at that offer and said, "We need way more than No. 9 for Derek White." Lowe stated, "What does Boston know that the rest of the league might still be underestimating? Let's talk value, real value, not box score stats, but impact. Derek White doesn't have the all-star appearances. He doesn't command viral highlights, but within the Celtics machine, he's been the stabilizing force, a defensive savant, an elite decision maker, and perhaps the most low-maintenance star-adjacent player in the NBA. He guards 1 through 3, spaces the floor, protects the rim from the guard spot, and runs offense when needed. That combination is insanely rare. But here's the controversial part no one's saying aloud. Is Derek White more valuable than the average top 10 pick in today's draft climate? And should more teams be treating role players like him as near untouchables? Historically, the 9th pick in the NBA draft has produced wildly inconsistent results. For every Amari Stoudemire or DeMar DeRozan, there's a Kevin Knox or Dennis Smith Jr. The odds of landing a high-level, championship-caliber contributor, let alone one ready to play from day one, are slim. White, in contrast, is already that guy. He doesn't need development. He doesn't need time. He just needs a playoff environment to shine. Are the Celtics about to let a perfect fit slip through their fingers? The underrated big man who could quietly reshape Boston's future, if they're bold enough to sign him. After the emotional high of their 2024 championship and the gut-wrenching disappointment of falling short in 2025, the Boston Celtics are no longer the NBA's untouchable superpower. They're something far more dangerous, a wounded champion with a grudge, financial ammo, and something to prove. But here's the question no one is asking. What if the piece that puts Boston back on top isn't a star, but a sleeper, a role player, with no hype, no headlines, but the exact toolkit to fill the Celtics' biggest void? Let's set the stage. Boston's dominance in recent years came from more than just Tatum and Brown. It was about their defensive versatility, their ruthless switchability, and their unselfish offensive structure. Kristaps Porziņģis gave them floor space and gravity at the 5. Jrue Holiday brought surgical defense and poise. Now, both are gone. And while the Celtics have used the 2025 draft to grab intriguing talent like Hugo Gonzalez and Amari Williams, the present, not the future, is what demands attention. That's where things get interesting. Because for the first time in years, Boston is playing the free agency game with some room to maneuver. They're still above the tax, yes, but below the dreaded second apron. That opens the door to the mid-level exception, an underrated weapon that can change championship fates if used wisely. So, here's the bombshell. There's a player out there right now, affordable, overlooked, and perfectly tailored for Boston's new identity. And if the Celtics don't pounce, someone else will. Enter Isaiah Hartenstein. Yes, that Isaiah Hartenstein, the 26-year-old German-American center who quietly became one of the most impactful bigs in the NBA. With the New York Knicks, he doesn't dominate SportsCenter. He doesn't light up the scoreboard. But watch the tape. Hartenstein wrecks games in ways that don't show up in basic stat sheets. Hartenstein checks every box. And here's the kicker. He could be available for mid-level money, somewhere in the $12 to $14 million range. That's an insane bargain for someone who's posted top 10 rim protection metrics and leads all centers in box-out success rate over the last 2 seasons. Still not sold? Let's add context. When Porziņģis missed playoff games in 2024, Boston's offense sputtered and their defense became overly reliant on switching. Horford was serviceable, but overmatched. Kornet gave energy, but lacked touch and IQ in key moments. Boston was dying for a big who could provide playable size without becoming an offensive liability. Hartenstein has done just that, in the postseason, no less, against elite competition. Al Horford's stunning silence is the Celtics legend about to walk away when Boston needs him most. And what if the decision that redefines the Celtics' future isn't coming from Brad Stevens? Al Horford has always been the quiet constant, the voice of reason, the leader who didn't need to shout. But now, in the most chaotic and fragile moment Boston has faced in years, he's the one leaving everyone waiting, and that silence, it's starting to get loud. For the first time since 2019, Horford is entering unrestricted free agency, and this time, the stakes are infinitely higher. Back then, his departure to the rival Sixers stung, but it was explainable. He chased a long-term deal. Boston wasn't ready to overpay a big man heading into his mid-30s, but this is different. Horford is 39 now, and instead of fading into veteran irrelevance, he just finished a season where he still knocked down 36% from deep, anchored Boston's defense in key moments, and held his own during a postseason stretch that demanded more from him than anyone anticipated. Yet as free agency looms, no decision has been made. And that's not just unusual, it's alarming. Horford continues to mull potential options. Reported Adam Himmelsbach, he appears unlikely to have a final decision on the first day of free agency. Translation: Al isn't sure if he's coming back. Let's unpack that, because this isn't about retirement, it's not about legacy. It's about a player who, according to multiple reports, has a robust market and could fetch more than Boston is prepared to offer. So the question that no one is daring to ask becomes painfully clear: is Al Horford about to break Boston's heart again? ESPN's Shams Charania confirmed on the Pat McAfee show that teams are circling, and not just out of nostalgia. Horford is viewed as one of the most intelligent, low-maintenance, and playoff-ready veterans in the league. His market isn't sentimental, it's strategic. Meanwhile, Boston is in a vulnerable place. Jason Tatum is out indefinitely with an Achilles tear. Kristaps Porziņģis has been traded. Jrue Holiday is gone. The Celtics are no longer deep. They're in survival mode, with only Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard left from their high-minute playoff rotation. The Celtics are about to lose a crucial piece, and almost no one is talking about it. Luke Kornet's possible exit could become Boston's most embarrassing offseason failure yet. Boston has been busy, too busy. In just 10 days, the Celtics have cut deep into the heart of their championship roster, shipping out Jrue Holiday, sending Kristaps Porziņģis to Atlanta, and making cold, calculated moves that scream one thing: financial survival, all in the name of ducking below the NBA's dreaded second tax apron. But what if, in the process, they're about to make a mistake that could haunt them far more than any tax penalty? What if Luke Kornet, the unglamorous, underrated, and underpaid glue guy, is the one piece they absolutely couldn't afford to lose? And yet, that's exactly what's unfolding. According to veteran NBA insider Mark Stein, the San Antonio Spurs are aggressively targeting Kornet, willing to use their full mid-level exception to pry him away from Boston. To put it in perspective, that's more than 4 times what Kornet has ever made in a single NBA season. Luke Kornet is not flashy. He doesn't grab 20 rebounds or throw down vicious dunks, but he has something rarer: trust. Brad Stevens trusted him. Joe Mazzulla trusted him. He became a key rotational big in a system that demands size, discipline, and versatility, in a league filled with athletic bigs who can't read coverages or space the floor. Kornet quietly became a system-sustaining piece. Those numbers don't scream all-star. But here's the secret: Kornet did all of that in just 18.6 minutes per game. His per 36 numbers, borderline elite for a bench big. He was Boston's interior insurance, allowing Horford to rest, Porziņģis to miss games, and Mazzulla to experiment with lineups. He's the reason Boston survived stretches where other teams would have collapsed. San Antonio isn't just throwing money at Kornet out of desperation. This is a chess move. The Spurs already failed to land Porziņģis. They need a high IQ big who can complement Victor Wembanyama, not overshadow him. Kornet's ability to stretch the floor, make smart passes, and anchor defensive sets without demanding touches makes him ideal next to Wemby. And if they offer him $14 million, that's game over. And here's another layer the media's ignoring: locker room leadership. Kornet isn't just a plug-and-play big. He's a culture guy. He knows the system. He bridges the gap between stars and role players. You don't just replace that with a G League call-up or a veteran on a minimum deal.